Today we have a very special guest from Jacksonville Beach, Florida. He's the son of a very good friend of mine, and I've known him for quite a long time. He's one of the first people that I talked to about Bitcoin, and I wanted to get him on the show and chat a little bit more. Welcome to the Bitcoin Edge.
Hi, Paula. How are you?
All good. I'm really excited to hear a little bit about you. So let's start with your background and what you're doing with your life at the moment.
Yeah, sure. Before I get into that, I just wanted to say your whole podcasting, that to see you evolve from the real estate and into this new virtual realm that we've got going on, this new world has been pretty cool to see through X or Twitter. So congrats on that. This thing's pretty sweet. I enjoy it.
Thanks.
But so I grew up in Miami, and if I remember correctly, we know each other because you were my mom's trainer. So when I was younger, I'd be like, my mom's going, I'm going to work out with Paula. I'd be like, okay. So yeah, I moved to Jacksonville to go to UNF, which is the University of North Florida, and then I was lucky enough to get a technology job here, working for a sports technology company. And so we pretty much do, if you know, do you know the first down line for football games? You know that yellow line? Or the scoreboard. So we
Yep.
do all the virtual stuff that you see when you're watching tennis, golf, or football or anything like that. So we do it's sports technology, just a bunch of computer nerds for sports. Um, so I was a 9 to 5er for 4 or 5 years, and I realized pretty early that the system of working a 9 to 5 seemed kind of broken. It seemed like it seemed like I couldn't do that forever, and so I started, I guess, looking around on the internet. First, found the stock market right away, and then eventually digging more and more, I stumbled upon Bitcoin. And ever since then, it's literally changed my view of probably, I mean, my whole life, my whole perspective on what life's about and the meaning and the energy you put towards things. And it's kind of insane, like where I've started and where I mean, people just look at me weird of where I am now. So it's cool to see that you're kind of in that you got to that transition too, and now here you are. We're talking on a podcast. So yeah, that's where I'm at. But yeah, it's cool to see we're just two people talking about Bitcoin now. It's pretty cool.
Well, so you were pretty young when you discovered Bitcoin. So you were in this job that you enjoy, you love sports, I know that. You
Yeah,
especially love basketball. How did you get to Bitcoin at
yeah,
such a young age?
yeah. I mean, I love sports and I love computers. So I mean, I hit my job right on the head. But I realized, working 8 hours for this paycheck, there has to be something more to it. It just didn't seem like there's no way to gain wealth from just the same 30,000, 40,000, $50,000 salary paycheck. So it seemed like, when I had this computer in front of me, I just started looking around on the internet, to be honest, and I found Bitcoin, and I realized there's a lot more to just this internet currency than it is. There's this whole movement behind the dollar, just inflation. Inflation wasn't a word that anyone said when I started working. It was just something that Bitcoiners said, and I was like, huh, that's interesting. So it's now it's just a common word that literally, they say it every day on the news. But I've been saying this for, like 7, 8 years now. That's how I guess I stumbled upon it. Is over time through my 9 to 5, I realized things are getting more expensive. The stock market's getting more expensive, and I'm still making the same salary. So it really made me be like, what is going on? Like there's got to be something else. But the system is kind of in a hole. It's kind of broken. A lot of people, I mean, they've been, like my parents, they've been in the system for so long. It's kind of like an abusive relationship. You don't really know what you're in. You've been being told this thing your whole life, and everything's worked out for the most part. My dad's still working. My dad's still he's the VP of a big publicly traded company, and he's getting older, and he shouldn't be doing that anymore. He's worked pretty hard, so it seems like where has all your time gone that you've spent spending in front of your computer with your salesperson or whatever? Where's all the money? It seems like you should be done by now, but he's not done. So that's made me also ask questions like, I feel like I've talked a lot. Is there any? Do you have any other questions?
Yeah, you bring up some good points. Do you think people like your dad, who is in a very good position, doing very well in the current system, is there any reason for them to go to Bitcoin? And maybe he loves his job.
He does. I mean, that's his passion. He enjoys, managing salespeople and trying to get them to sell more product, and that's great. It's a team environment, and that's very cool. But the system that it's built on, which is debt and the dollar, I think is just something that I don't think people realize, that it's kind of like a trap for if you're selling it, that's great. But whoever's buying it is kind of not being scammed or screwed over, but they just don't know what they're buying. I mean, we bought a house in 2020. We kind of split it with our family, and it's amazing the things that you get in the mail as after you sign that contract of insurance, and then all those things just keep coming in the mail, and then something breaks, and then it's like it's not just a loaf of bread where it's like boom, $4 loaf of bread, I've got my house. You know, no one's trying to sell you. There's no liability on a loaf of bread, but there's just a bunch of liabilities with these assets that we've had for so long now, that my parents have owned, that there's clearly something is broken. And so Bitcoin, it seems to be the solution, which is hard to see for people. It's taken me a really long time. I've kind of given up on most, to be honest. You know, they ask me, and I just say, just buy it. Like, I don't know what to tell you anymore. You know what? It's probably too expensive. You know what I mean? It's exhausting. But yeah, if you're at the point where you see inflation where it is, and you see Bitcoin at a $60,000 price, and you're still curious and going, this is a scam, you should probably revisit just a lot of your methods about what a scam and what you're doing every day in general, and just revisit that, because I think that's the real scam, to be honest.
Yes, and I think it does depend a lot on where you are in life. Because, for example, we often hear you can't live in a Bitcoin.
Yeah,
We
obviously, right.
we need a house,
You need
but
shelter.
but we need shelter. But what you're saying is maybe, well, is exactly what I did. I sort of sold my condo because of all those fees to buy more Bitcoin
So you
because
sold your condo for Bitcoin.
yes, yes.
That is impressive. I mean,
Well,
that takes guts.
well, you only get there once you've studied it long enough, right?
Exactly. Until you understand what it really is. Yeah.
And I did have a smaller one to move to in the meantime.
Okay.
So I did that, but not everyone's going to do that.
And where was
And
that located, if I may ask?
Pinecrest,
Gotcha.
Florida. So,
Okay.
and yes, the fees are going to go very high in 2025, and it doesn't make sense to me to do that. I think you know about what's going on with Florida condos. That all condos in Florida have to have a certain reserve amount in order to cover the structural integrity parts of a condo, so that they can replace the roof and replace
So you're saying
the
like there's a security deposit or some sort of thing?
it's like a deposit they must have on their balance sheet. That's a law now going into effect in 2025. So most over 60% of condos are going to have a very high increase in maintenance fees because of the Surfside building collapse. So that's one reason I
Yeah.
did it. And then because I looked at those charts, and I know you've posted some of those charts on X, where if you look at the last 15 years, everything is falling against Bitcoin. It doesn't make sense to own two anymore, or property as an asset to me. It makes sense to own property as a home.
Right. But not an investment vehicle? Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
not as much and as an investment vehicle. So that's what I came to. And so I can see people like your parents and friends wanting to own a home. But to me now, the more I study Bitcoin, the more I see it makes more sense to put money in Bitcoin. Plus, it's a better protocol and it's a better technology than we've ever seen before. And that's kind of the
I mean,
way.
how are you supposed to run a real estate business when we don't know the interest rates in the next month? You don't know it 2 months out. Like, how are you supposed to run a business when they just keep changing the rules? Your Bitcoin, we know what the protocol is every single day. Every 10 minutes, what is it? I think 3.15 are reproduced into the system. So
Yeah.
it's very clear. Like, okay, 3 coins of the 21 million are produced every 10 minutes. That's how the money works. How does the U.S. dollar work? It's like I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know how many are in circulation. I don't know how much that I own is the full amount of the pie. I don't think anybody does, to be honest. And we're kind of in this abusive relationship where it's like, oh, I've got dollars, I'm comfy. But the dollars, when I first moved to Jacksonville, I could go to Chipotle and get a meal for about it was like 7.87. I remember like the dollar amount. But I just went there yesterday. I got my guac inside and everything, and it was like 19.84. For like a side of guac, extra chicken. So it's just like clearly something's broken because the same meal cost more than 100% more than it did 10 years ago. So it like so essentially, if you're saving in what we're buying things with, you're essentially melting to death, I guess is what you're saying. I mean, if I had $10,000 in 10 years ago and I wanted to just save it and I use it now, it'd probably get me 10 months of rent, 9 months, 8 months of rent, right? Well, mortgage because we own our house, but uh, 10 years ago, it would have probably got you maybe 2 years. So clearly, if you're holding what is the currency, you're losing. And that's not how money should work, right? Money should be like you go to work every day for your time and your energy. You put it in, like what I like to call a bank, but like what is your bank. You put it in your hands and it'll grow with time. Over time, I can afford more things instead of I can afford less things. So it's very interesting. I don't know. I think people are starting to wake up to that now. It's taken a long time. It's taken COVID and a bunch of things, but still people look at Bitcoin as $60,000 and go, "No thanks." It's like, do I have to buy a whole one? They just, I've read the book, so they ask me. It's like everyone asks me the same questions about Bitcoin. Well, what if it's just like it's kind of like it's the same thing. I'm sure you get it the same thing over and over again. It's just like it makes me laugh. I just get exhausted, but.
You kind of remind me, the lie we've been told is that a little bit of inflation is okay. Nobody really likes a
Right,
lot of inflation. That's why people are
right.
now starting to question, but everyone thinks a little bit is okay. But like you said, if we had a sound money system like Bitcoin, there should be no inflation and our money should go up in time over value instead of down. And that's what people don't see.
Right. I mean, the government is clearly, they tax us so that they can use the money to use it for whatever they need to, streets, wars, whatever. But clearly they're spending way more of the money that we give them than they have. And so essentially they just have to create more of it. And so it's kind of like if my mom made a bunch of like 10 chocolate chip cookies, there's only 10, like, ooh, can I have some? But then if she made, 1,000 of them, it's like, oh, we've got enough, we're all full. So right now everyone's full of US dollars. We're all full of chocolate chip cookies, right? I get a check for every month from my employer. So and then I convert it into everything else, rent and everything else. So it's really it kind of, what is money, Paula? What is your definition of money?
Well, that's a really good question. I do watch Robert Breedlove's channel, and he has a lot of definitions of money. But money is a place that we store our value, right? In an abstract sense.
Right.
Money is not something that should be going down over time.
Money is essentially our hard-earned time and what I like to say energy. This sounds like a buzzword, but I wake up every day and I have to put on clothes and eat something so that I can go to work and function and pay for a meal to give me more energy to solve the problems at work that I need. So essentially what I'm waking up for is money to buy food, shelter, to create more energy of things. And so essentially what the government's doing, creating more money, is they're draining everyone of their energy. I mean, my dad's been working for 40 years now or something, and he loves it, but I bet he's got to be tired at some point. It's like it's as if somebody was sneaking into your house and turning up the thermostat 1 degree every year, and then eventually you're like, Paula, man, it's hot in here, and then the government's going, well, it still says 70 degrees. It's fine, and we're going, but I'm melting in here, and they're just going, the thermostat still says 69, 70, it's fine, and we're exhausted. So essentially, there's so much money, there's so much fake money. It's just we're all melting to death. We don't know. We're all going, where's the real money? So where the real money is energy, which is run by Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin's only created by plugging into a wall and using your power bill to pay for the currency. And so that's how money should work. Is it should be created. It can't just be created. It needs to be work. Like a six pack, someone that has a six pack, you could tell that they put in a lot of work. Obviously, if you had surgery, that's a different story. But that's why it's valuable. It's like that person has put in time and energy into to get what that is. And so Bitcoin is the perfect money, six pack money. It's encapsulated perfectly. You can't leak it, I guess you could say, because the economy is at the end of the day a hydraulic system, correct? It's if you're printing money, there's a leak in the system. And so that leak is getting real big right now, Paula. So I think that's where we're at. It's like this leak is at $60,000 we got on Bitcoin. So they're melting. So I don't know.
And exactly what you said, we don't know exactly how much they're printing or when they'll choose to print more or not. It's not in our choice. And whereas Bitcoin is, there'll only ever be 21 million. And you mentioned proof of work there, which is what Bitcoin is based on, right?
Right.
So the proof of work is the mining.
So the proof of work is the mining. It's basically they're trying to guess a certain number out of like a billion. All these computers are going 64, 3,600. They're just like shooting all these numbers off. Like it's going. There's even more and more now. That's the highest it's ever been. And so they're all guessing. And so if someone finds that and hits that guess correctly, they're rewarded because it's very hard to do. No human can do it. Only an AI, basically only a computer can do that, which is extremely important because money in the hands of humans will always be there. We are flawed at core. Paula, I think you're a great person, but if I gave you control of the money button, I wouldn't trust you. You know what I mean? Nobody can be in control of the money printer. So if the government is in control of a money printer, there's clearly something wrong if they can just give out money, which is time and energy, correct? So they're essentially melting everyone's time and energy away very, very slowly. When you see a bum on the side of the road, he's got no energy. He's can't get a food. He's got no shelters. There's nothing. He's zero energy. So that's what you're seeing around the country, I think.
Yeah.
And I think it's disguised as politics a lot. I think a lot of it's disguised as abortion and rights and trans rights and this, but it's really, if you've got money and you have a shelter overhead, most people aren't complaining. If you can afford things, you're not fighting that battle. But it seems to be disguised by a lot of politics that are unnecessary, and it's just a bunch of noise when the money is the real issue. If people knew how the money worked.
I think you're right. I think this type of fiat money entices corruption. It really does. And I've said that many times.
Corruption.
If I was in government, I might go in with good intentions, but when I was given the option, you can make an extra 100,000 here for giving it to this person, I might, like any normal human, go for that.
When it's that easy and you can just, make a call or press it. I don't know how these people do it, but it's just something just isn't right and it's not fair for whatever we're fighting for. I mean, they're fighting for us, but it clearly seems like somebody is putting wind in our sail, for the people that are in their boats. There's just they're going up against the wind.
I think you described it very well. I think when money is not sound, the system becomes corrupt, and that's where we're at.
I think the past couple of years since you've probably gotten Bitcoin, you've probably felt the wind in your sail. You're like, I'm flourishing. You're not struggling as much, obviously, but yeah.
I know what you mean. That's why I just make the difference because I know your dad and I know he loves his work. So
Yeah.
I'm going to give him that credit. But for me,
he's
I
very
don't
good.
want to work forever. And I think you realize that too. Maybe you love your job, but 9 to 5 for the next 30 years doesn't sound great to me in an office. So did you come to realize that?
Yeah, I think I realized my first year of my job and also just watching my dad just growing up, I've realized I don't think I can put on a suit and tie every day. I think I'm a circle, and if you're gonna shave me down into like some sort of square peg hole, I'll be pretty miserable and not very good. So yeah, that's where I kind of found Bitcoin with that. It's like I'm not, some people can do that corporate life stuff and be that robot and be that, really professional person, which I feel like I'm kind of doing now with you, but this doesn't feel like that. You know what I mean? We're talking about important stuff. We're talking about money and we're talking about lots of it and how it's going to be, the new shift is coming. The normal people that are working the jobs every day, they have too much to worry about. When you scroll your phone, there's endless issues, endless. And it's, the money should be the priority issue, but there's just too much on your phone. People are just too distracted. There's too much, Paula, you can't keep up with it all.
I agree.
But I'm glad we found the Bitcoin issue because I think that's where it all stems from.
Are any of your friends into Bitcoin? Family?
Yeah, a couple of them are. I also have a uncle that is a miner in Washington, so he has like a little mining facility. That's pretty cool. But besides the few friends, outside of that, I'm still the crazy Bitcoin guy. So we're still early, I'm telling you. It's crazy. Every time this thing goes under 60,000, I'm buying a little bit every day. So if you know it, like you said, if you know what it is, it's like an easy choice. Um,
Um, exactly. We don't know
yeah.
exactly when, but it's a pretty
That's the thing.
solid
That's the
choice.
beauty of it, I think, is it's not about when. It's just life is about saving your money and it's about being humble and you don't know when because nobody knows when. And if they're telling you they do know when, then they're probably corrupt and they're full of crap. So that's the thing about Bitcoin is you just stay humble and you just stack as much as you can because you know what it is.
I saw one of your posts say, "Stay humble, stack sats,
Eat
and
meat, but like work out, go to the gym or something.
exactly." You've pretty far down the rabbit hole because you even run a node.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty. I mean it sounds difficult to do, but if you are able to just research a little bit and find where to download the blockchain from and buy an SSD, if your computer doesn't have enough storage, you can buy a USB external drive to plug into your computer. Very simple, and it has a terabyte worth of stuff. You just put the node on there, and it launches very quickly, and you don't need much computer power at all. It's not like mining in the least bit. It's just handling simple processing text details. It's nothing crazy.
So why did you do that? Because you want to be part of the network.
I do, and I'm also just a nerd, so I like to just try things out. I like to throw paint at the wall and just be like, let's see what this does on the computer. So that's one of them, and it's cool because I connected my Ledger wallet to it, and so I can make transactions myself. If Coinbase went down, or if any central place went down, I can still send Bitcoin to you, Paula, if I needed to. So that's pretty interesting. It's like I have my own Swiss bank in my pocket whenever I want. It's
That
it's
is
actually
cool.
very interesting.
I've heard about that. So straight from Ledger to the network, and you can make your
Yeah,
own.
we will talk about that when we're off this. I'll get you one
Yeah,
up
that's
and
a bit
running.
technical.
Yeah,
So where do you think Bitcoin's going to be in 2044?
2044. That's 20 years.
Yeah.
It's a good question. I'm in a couple different options, I think. One part of me thinks that LeBron will sign a 10-year deal with Nike for $3 trillion, and we'll still be using the dollar, but everyone will be saving in Bitcoin or something, and we'll still, like pay each other in dollars, but like I'll go to buy tacos and it'll be like $50 for three tacos, something like that. Or maybe we'll be using Bitcoin. I really don't know, but all I know is Bitcoin is going to be it's going to be worth a lot more than it is now. That's all I can really say. That's just what history tells you. Traveling throughout the world with my job, I talk to people throughout the world and they're more interested in it than when I talk about it here. When I get in an Uber and I ask them, or where are you saving your money or stuff like that, it's instantly they're like Bitcoin, interesting. Money, US dollar, bad, interesting. Because I say dollar is bad, and they all go, huh, dollar, bad, okay. But the more I travel, the more I see, the more you really see humans that are like, I need something. Like I need something. Hope is what I need, like some sort of hope. And so that's I think what Bitcoin represents a lot of is a little bit of hope.
Well, so don't you think that the US dollar is the cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry? The US dollar is still the reserve currency of the world and is better
Right.
than a lot of the other currencies. So people in other countries often want the US dollar because they haven't seen the whole problem.
They do. They do want the dollar, and that's just because I think, when you look at your cell phone, if you read a tweet, if you read anything, it's usually priced in dollars. If you see someone that sold stock, it's usually priced in dollars. If you say, how rich is Elon Musk, you're going to price him in dollars. So, I mean, that's completely normal. If you price it in dollars, he doesn't have just a bunch of dollars in his bank account. That's not what it is. It's it's companies, it's assets. So, I mean, you could say it's dollars, but it's not dollars at all, technically. So, people outside this country, I think they think about the dollar a lot, but I think they're starting to realize like, oh crap, if Joe Biden can just print it and he's not even alive, then what is money? Like, what are we using? So it just takes time. Again, this stuff it's very complex, Paula. You can't learn this stuff in a day. It's impossible. So if you're watching this and you're trying to be like, huh, just take the time because it took me like 2 or 3 years to really understand all this stuff. It's quite impossible to understand it in 2, 3 weeks. It's literally impossible.
I agree. It's a whole new education on something that we didn't get
You have to
growing up.
forget everything you've been learned, to be honest.
Yeah,
Everything you've been taught, forget it.
yeah.
So
Start again.
start
So
again.
we're almost at the end, Jordan. What are some of your other passions beside Bitcoin?
I like music a lot, Paula. I think along with Bitcoin, I found patterns in Bitcoin, the every 4 year halving. A lot of things in life I find patterns in. And so music theory is something that is pretty big for me. I play the drums, you can see in the background. And I play the guitar as well and the ukulele. So I like music a lot. I think it's a form of medicine. And I'm also just into stocks and sports and, just life in general, just learning about this whole new realm that we have got going on because there's just a big shift and I can feel it and it's exciting. So ready to learn about it.
So, last question for you, Jordan. What does freedom mean to you?
Freedom? Freedom. What does it mean to me? It's a good question, Paula. It means that if I want to, I can do something stupid, even though someone's like, "That's a bad idea." Freedom is me just it's making my decision whether someone likes it or not, and being okay with that, and being confident and courageous in that. I think that's what freedom is for me. It's just I just want to be left alone and just live my life. Really, I mean, most people do. I think, you know, I just want to, yeah, just be left alone.
And be able to do what you want to do.
Yeah,
I
very
I
simple.
always think about, by being financially free, you can do what you want to do when you want to do it. That's one. But then there's also other aspects to freedom, like being free in your mind, and like you said, mentioning all the things that you love. And I agree, music is one of the best things for our soul. And
And it's free. It's
yes,
free too.
and it's free. You can create it yourself. Well, that is very cool, Jordan. We're early, right? As you said.
We're
So
so early, and I hope to be on again soon, Polly. We'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
we will. We'll
So
talk at the next interesting junction.
yeah, the next time Elon Musk tweets or something crazy, or next crazy event.
Thanks, Jordan.
All right, Paula, have a good one. Okay,
You
talk to you
too.
later. Bye.
Bye.